Pearly School. So I asked Shannon for copies, and there were 100 copies, and I was looking through, and it's like, again, primary, you don't want to choose one of hundreds when they were all fantastic. So, so we chose, Ms. O'Brien chose this for the cover, but then in talking with Barry Belanger, when I said, oh, you know, it just kills me to have to choose one because they're all phenomenal, all of a sudden, as only Mr. Belanger does, I could see the wheels turning, and he said to me, how about if I scan all the pictures and I can have them running on our website? So when you go onto our website, up in the corner, you will be able to see all the drawings.
That's great.
So it may take over the summer, but if you are the parent of a first grader, check in, because the children's drawings will be there. And so I'm thinking that would be a good tradition. Next year, I'll do the same thing, that we'll have first graders draw it, and then just one will be chosen at random, and then all the others will be on the website. That's great.
It's wonderful interaction.
And this year, just somewhat in review, really, as my opening paragraph really is about change. There was so much change, so much new and different at Pearly, starting with a new principal, many new faculty and staff, new curricula, new programs, and it's an exciting time, but it also could be overwhelming. And I have to say, when I was writing the accomplishments, just kind of going through my book and looking at what we've done, and then finishing the list, it's phenomenal to me when you really write down and reflect on what was done, what a great year we had. You know, there was so much going on just between the roof and flooding and things that we couldn't control, the snow. I was in a kindergarten class the other day looking at a slideshow, and she had pictures through the year, and there were pictures of the snow, the children playing out back on the snowbank, and just life gets so busy and time goes by, and the winter snow melted and spring came, and seeing that snow again, it's like, wow. They were like 2 stories high, children all bundled up and, you know, playing around, and I just had forgotten how phenomenal the winter was. So in spite of everything, we were busy implementing new curricula and programs. Foundations is our new phonics program. That was phenomenal success. Balanced literacy was really being perfected by teachers. We had help from professional development. Our reading coach, Kate Donlan, worked with classroom teachers. New math, we had our math coach, our math consultant come in 3 times to work with teachers through the year. And it was hard, people struggled through it, but at the end, I heard from parents of, wow, you know, my child's math really is in a deeper level than what I'd seen before. Teachers, although, again, it's, you know, it's a hard curriculum because it does spiral, but at the end, they were seeing the benefits of the program. Again, the community, what we had done, just between the planting the bulbs and the workshops that we've had, and inviting parents into the school, we've had over 260 volunteers through the year.
Wow.
That was phenomenal. So it was really a busy year. So when we're looking ahead, of course, we don't stop. So the 4 big goals for next year: 1, to continue with literacy, because we will continue to refine balanced literacy. Really now starting to get into the components of it and how we're going to strengthen strategic reading groups and really look at the shared reading. And Reader's Workshop was new, Writer's Workshop is new, so we'll continue to refine that. And then of course, math, we'll continue that as the goal, and now we're also looking to literacy and math and linking it to the new standards, and when we're looking at curriculum maps, and so that will be a lot of work. Then our 3rd goal is really tied to the district goal and the new state law about bullying. So we're going to bring in new curriculum. Ellen Bazillion, who is our PE teacher, one of her classes will be a wellness class when she will work with bullying, and we'll have a rotating schedule so that I think it will be every maybe 4 to 5 weeks she'll be able to do some bullying work with the classes. we will continue with responsive classroom. Again, Jill Provencher is going to a training this summer, so we'll do integrating with that. And then our fourth goal, I have to thank my school council. They were strategic in looking in that and how we're going to improve our communication, and the website is one way we really want to beef up. We want to have all our communication go through our website, but then we're trying to figure out how we can make sure that we get parents to go to it, and how we're going to make sure information is current and timely. So have a busy year ahead.
It's a busy year for you. Just thinking about these things. Can I ask? Yeah, let's just wait. Who has questions? Can I ask about the Dibbles results and how they
Yes. Yeah.
had a pretty significant drop between September for first grade, September and May. In
Those results.
kids meeting students meeting the benchmarks.
In the Dibbles.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is a significant drop, but the Dibbles, and I don't know how much people do know, so forgive me if I speak the obvious. Dibbles is a national assessment used to look at phonemic awareness and phonics. It is a nationally normed assessment, so again, no matter where you go, we're comparing apples to apples. What knowledge and what information do students have? But what we have noticed, again, one of the things we've done this year is our data team, which is the reading coach, and Maureen O'Connor and Cheryl Reeves, the literacy tutors, and I met every week to look at results. And what we found very interesting, starting about mid-year, was that the oral reading component of the Dibbles, which is one of just 3 subsets, was low. That here we had these really high scores, children at benchmark in every other area, but then this one area would be low. So I actually called a reading specialist I know in Salisbury, who is being trained by Barbara Wilson, who is the founder of Foundations in the Wilson program, and they use Dibbles as their assessment. And because I wondered, are the low scores unique to the Pearly, or is this something other schools are dealing with? And through conversation, these scores are low throughout, and we even, because I just found it so odd and curious that children were making benchmark and showing this trajectory towards their goal, but in this one area it was low. So I asked the literacy team to assess children that were not receiving intervention, because I wanted to see, are these scores, again, unique to children receiving intervention, or how is the regular population? And sure enough, across the board, regardless of who was assessed, the scores are low. So what that said to us is, well, first of all, it's good information that the fluency and the vocabulary are areas that we need to work on. But what happens is children have become very proficient at phonics and phonemic awareness. This was the first year of Foundations, so children weren't coming in with that groundwork. So I'm thinking, when we're trying to analyze what would account for that, because on the flip side, if you look at the Fountas and Pinnell, at the incredibly high numbers of children who are reading. So when we're looking at, and that's based on, again, Fountas and Pinnell assessment, that's looking at comprehension, we see children are reading because, and if you're at home, this will be posted, but eventually. But at this point, 105 students out of 119 tested are reading at or above grade level, so 88%. So how again, when we're looking at the discrepancy in those numbers. So we have readers who are comprehending, because again, part of that assessment is not just coding, it's really, are they comprehending? And if a child is reading but they're not comprehending, they're not scored high. The comprehension does determine the level of competency. So I think that one of the things that says to us is that Well, and then a couple things, that vocabulary and the fluency are something that we have to really make sure that we're targeting early on. The other part of that is that there is a new assessment called DIBELS Next that's coming out next year, because I think, again, this is not unique to Georgetown or the Pearly, that across the board, that area is low. So DIBELS assessment has changed the test, and Cheryl Reeves went to the training a few months ago, and she's going to be a trainer in the district. So it will be interesting when we're looking at a new assessment, because some of that could be a function of the assessment and not really the students. The benchmarks are incredibly high for the reading, so.
Right, the benchmarks change each period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously they're easier, or they're lower in September than they are
of
in
course.
winter, and they
also
are in
should
spring.
be noted that DIBELS doesn't always assess the same skills. So sometimes when we look at assessments and we say, okay, where do they start here? They're actually completely different assessments
Yeah.
and completely different skills. So let's say they have letter ID the beginning of the year, and they're all making benchmark. But then we're moving to a very different skill. Nonsense word fluency or phoneme segmentation, which is different than just being able to ID the letters,
Right.
using and manipulating the letters. So there you'll have kids that are at benchmark in that skill, but it's a gradation skill. It's a much harder skill. And so they might be there, but in the winter they're there. But if you think about it as, well, if they were up here, why are they down here? Because they ramped up.
Right, I understand that. I just, I was gonna follow up my next question with how is this improved over, since we've had full day K for several years
DIBELS,
now?
yeah.
How have the DIBELS scores improved over the kids that didn't have full day K?
Well,
Oh.
it's
Well, I know
interesting.
you probably don't have that in here.
I
Well,
don't-
if
yeah.
you, again, I want you, if you just take a minute to look at the kindergarten scores in here, because
I saw that.
that also it's very interesting that the end of the year, the DIBELS for kindergarten, out of 115, 101 are at benchmark.
Right.
So it's fascinating, but the Fountas and Pinnell in kindergarten, it's the flip. So what that says to us, that children in kindergarten at the end of the year have done a phenomenal job. They have now, they've got their phonemic awareness, they have phonics instruction, so they are taking that knowledge into first grade. So first grade teachers now using foundations are going to, fly forward. But also, children are ready to read. So again, that foundation is there. So it will be interesting next year, and I can't wait. I mean, it will be fascinating to see how those DIBELS scores are. So I actually, at first, I'm like, this is a disappointment. But as we know with numbers, you have to dig deep to really know what they mean. And I'm actually quite thrilled with where we ended up, because children are, one of the things I said to Dr. Tanner at the beginning of the year, and also to teachers, I have a very simple goal. My goal at the end, when children leave first grade, that they will be reading at or above grade level. Very easy goal, and then everything is to support that. So when I look at where children are being sent to Pembroke, and I can see that 88% are reading at or above grade level. Well, it's not 100%, but it's 88%. So, and again, the other part about the DIBELS, it's hard and fast numbers. There's no gray areas. So if you are one answer, one phoneme, if you're 1 second off that minute, because it's a time test for a minute, if you're one off, you may not make benchmark. So it really isn't looking at who are those children, and we did look at who are those children who were like one, if they had one more, they would have made benchmark. So,
And there are ways to do direct and explicit instruction
Oh,
in
absolutely.
fluency,
I just-
and that's what we need
I
to look
just saw a
at.
big drop, and I just wanted to know what it,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's measuring different
How long do you
different
keep
skills
the
and
DIBELS
benchmarks.
scores?
Well, actually, there are, I know that there are DIBELS from last year. I haven't compared this,
Well, last year they
cohort.
had full day K too.
That would be one of our goals with the data warehouse, is be able to have all this in there,
Yeah.
so that we would.
But you do have the DIBELS scores from the kids that had half-day kindergarten, right? Somewhere?
I don't know if,
I don't know. I don't know.
I speak for the last
Yeah.
3 years, but we've had full day since I've been here. But for the
Right.
last 3
Right.
years, we've purchased an online program to track our scores, our DIBELS scores, so
Right.
we can look back at those results. I'd be even as interested as you are about the new phonics program, because DIBELS is indicators of early literacy skills, which at that level is high into the phonics and phonemic awareness. So to me, I'm as equally interested in full day K if we're using a traditional font